My name's JDM54 and I'm going to teach you world history, specifically the scientific revolution. The scientific revolution lasted from the middle of the 16th century to the start of the 17th century. And in order to understand why it was called the scientific revolution, I'm going to talk about some scientists who were in the revolution. Here is my first scientist, Nicolaus Copernicus. He began to develop his own celestial mode, a heliocentric planetary system. But the idea, which was the Earth revolved around the Sun and the Sun was the center of the universe, was not incompatible with Aristotle's idea that the Earth was orbited by everything else. So Copernicus believed that the size of each planet's orbit depended on its distance from the Sun. His idea was considered revolutionary and met with some controversy. Aristarchus also proposed the idea, but it was forgotten. But since the idea of Ptolemy, the guy who made the idea, was more accepted, the church accepted it, and they didn't accept his book. His book, called On the Revolution of the Heavenly Spheres, was not accepted by the church because it was not compatible with their ideas. So next scientist, Galileo Galilei. Galileo Galilei, he created the telescope and he was able to see Jupiter, the moons, all of that, but he observed a lot of planets and he found evidence that supported Copernicus' theory, but unfortunately he was accused by heresy of the church for his beliefs, and he wrote books on his ideas. He died on January 8, 1642, and because of him, if he wasn't alive, we would not have the Hubble Space Telescope. Tycho Brahe. Tycho Brahe, he made the most accurate celestial observations of his time and challenged that the universe, in the prevailing belief in how the universe was organized. People think a scientist has told you academic types, but Brahe's flamboyant lifestyle and ignominious death would have made today's wild celebration look like choir boys. And I think, soon enough, after the death of Tycho Brahe, Johannes Kepler published his book of Tycho Brahe. But Kepler also had his own ideas about how the universe was. He was able to the orbit, planetary, because before planetary paths, planets, as they said, didn't always come on time, and so they made an idea that the orbit of the planets were round, but Kepler suggested that it was elliptical, and that was the reason the planets did not come on time. And so the descriptions of his planetary motions became known as Kepler's laws. And then Isaac Newton, he used all the ideas of all the other scientists to come up with his own idea. One day, he was sitting under a tree when an apple fell on his head, and he wondered why. And so, after trying to research, he came up with gravity. And he went gravity. Thanks to him, without his discovery of the theory about the gravity, we would not have modern physics. And so, Andreas Vesalius. He was born in Brussels in December 31, 1514, to a family of physicians and pharmacists. His father was an apothecary, and so he began his studies at Castle School of University of Louvain. But Vesalius turned to medicine in college. And so, he became good in dissecting. But he wanted to know how human anatomy was. And so, he took cadavers and researched on dissected them. But dissecting cadavers was not good because it was prohibited by the church and the people. But had he not taken those cadavers, we would never have known how our body would have looked like inside. Anton van Leeuwenhoek. He discovered the microscope, and he was able to see these single-celled organisms called bacteria. And had he not created the microscope, there would be no microbiology in the field of microbiology would not exist. And the science would have not, and we would not have been able to have found out that we are being attacked by these bacteria and disease. And he also discovered protozoa and the first and the blood cell, red blood cell. Carolus Linnaeus. He created a system of naming plants and animals in Latin. So, Latin. He created a series of in Latin. So, Carolus Linnaeus. He lived from May 1707 to 10 January 1778. And he was a creationist, and he later developed an evolutionary theories of his own. And so, he was a lecturer of botany, and he made an expedition in Scandinavia, where, so, memorable decision. He got the inventory with the aid of correspondents who sent him specimens from the globe. He became one of the most known botanists or zoologists of his time. And since he loved what he do, he wanted to give names to the works of the species. And so he created